Hello and welcome to our second episode on Destination India. Our digital traveler series was opened with showcasing the Northern Belt. Today, we are moving to the western part of India. But before we proceed further, I would like to mention that the Digital Traveler series is a joint initiative of South Asian Travel Awards, popularly known as SATA, and India City Walks. This evening is also graced by our esteemed panelists. We have with us today Ms. Anjali Tolani, Head Contracting, Product and Pricing for Tamarind Global. Over the past 15 years, she has been able to find a professional expression for her passion for traveling, and that is the strength she brings to her profile at Tamarind Global. Her style of traveling is slow, immersive, while engaging with local community. Our second panelist for today is Mr. Venkateshan Dhatarian, Regional Director, Western and Central Region at India Tourism Mumbai office, which is the regional office of Ministry of Tourism. Prior to taking charge as regional director, he was the Deputy Director General in Ministry of Tourism, headquartered in New Delhi, handling matters related to international cooperation and information technology initiatives. He has spent almost 3 decades with Ministry of Tourism. Our third and final panelist for today is Mr. Anupam Das Gupta, General Manager, Trident Nariman Point, Mumbai. A motivated leader with 25 years of experience with leading hospitality brands. Mr. Das Gupta began his professional career at the Oberoi School Center of Learning and Development, post which his vast experience in hospitality industry has seen him lead successful hotels for the Oberoi Group, ITC Hotels, Ananda Hotels, and IHHR Hotels. Mr. Anupam Das Gupta was recognized with the award of General Manager of the Year for the Luxury Hotels category at the Hotelier India Awards 2017. Thank you all the panelists for joining us today. Before we start, I request you to share your opening remarks with perspective on tourism for the Western region. We'll go in the same order. I request Ms. Anjali Tonali to please open with her opening remarks.
Hi, Nidhi. And I'm very glad, to begin with, I'm very glad that we've started focusing on the country, on the region now with this, on this particular platform. And this is definitely the need of the hour. There is a silver lining in every cloud, and I think this is COVID's silver lining. Because there is, when you think of India, as an inbound traveler, or if you think of India even as an Indian, what are the destinations that you want to travel to? Apart from a stray Goa, hardly ever does anybody think of Maharashtra. Does anybody think of, let's say, a Nashik or a Kolhapur or places like that as being the places that they want to travel to? And what we are doing in preparation in the lead up to when travel will resume in the country is putting focus on these places that people ought to travel to, that have some amazing experiences to offer. I remember in my previous assignment with Cox & Kings, when I used to work very closely with MTDC. MTDC ran this beautiful train called the Deccan Odyssey, which used to travel through Maharashtra to Goa. It used to spend a day in destinations that normally people would not even consider traveling to. It would spend a day in Nashik, and half the day would be spent in, let's say, walking by the ghats and walking through the weekly market. And the other half would be actually spent inside a vineyard, traveling through the vineyard, walking through the vineyard, looking at the processes and tasting the wines that were produced in Maharashtra. So it was two very divergent experiences. And that really sums up each and every place, especially the western region of India. The Sayadris, the Western Ghats, the treks, the lovely markets. There's so much to offer, and I'm glad we have a segment that's finally talking about it and giving people ideas. One more thing that before I kind of end what I have to say is that given the uncertainty that a lot of us have, especially now about traveling outside our state, with the regulations, with the statutory requirements, with the fact that you probably need to get yourself tested, it's going to be much easier as the first baby step to travel within your state. And so it's a great segment, to focus on, where people can start taking those baby steps and travel within the state and take their business to the state and then look at the nation as a whole.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's a great insight, and we're going to dwell deeper into the things that you've just mentioned about. I now move on to Mr. Venkatesan to give his opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Nidhi, and welcome to all the participants here today. And in fact, I thank Digital Traveler for having me here. In fact, it is my primary responsibility as a representative of Government of India, the Union Government here, to look after the matters relating to tourism. And in fact, this is one of the most versatile regions for tourism. In fact, if you look at the states of Maharashtra, Goa, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh and Gujarat are these states which I cover from here, and these have been one of the biggest providers of experiences. And when I say the Western India, in fact, the whole region has almost 13 UNESCO World Heritage sites, and and the good news is the first opening came from Goa, which announced opening for tourism, and then Madhya Pradesh has opened hotels. All the MP tourism hotels are up and running, and similarly, MTDC has also announced, and Maharashtra has also announced 33% of opening. That's a good news coming from Maharashtra. And what we feel is this is a one ground which will really kind of help people discover, and there is so much to see. If you call right from deserts in the western in Gujarat to the beaches to forest, we have everything. So it's a great thing. In fact, from our side, I'm working on coming out with 52 getaways, from all the states, which will give some ideas for people to go and explore. And when you look at some of the finest driving locations, when everybody is talking about driving, this is the area, the western, where the coast all along from Maharashtra till the whole of Konkan, getting into Goa and it's amazing, and it's a paradise for driving holidays. So, and of course the wilderness and the Western Ghats. So it is some complete package, and I'm hopeful that once things are normal and people getting out of their homes, it will be a great thing. So our idea is first to at least start give the confidence and allow people to get out of the homes, go to the neighborhood parks, the temples, or the beaches or lakes, and then move on to other districts and slowly do it in a phased manner. So I'm quite optimistic, and I think things will bounce back quickly. Thank you, Nidhi.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I do hope that things bounce back very quickly. And yes, we are all watching out and looking out with Goa opening and consecutively other states also opening. I now move on to our third panelist, Mr. Das Gupta. If you could give your opening remarks, please.
I think both the panelists, Anjali and Venkatesan, they both summarized it beautifully. Uh, you know, with everything comes a silver lining, and with this particular thing that's happened, the pandemic, I think the one thing that we all used to crave for, and not just as hoteliers, but across all industries, would be to spend more family time, and we're getting to do that, right? So the other thing that's going to happen is a lot more dependence on nature-based tourism, a lot of outdoor activities, and Maharashtra has so much of that to offer all along, not just its beautiful coastline, the Sahyadris, the amazing flora and fauna. I think the one thing that the government must realize, and I'm sure they realize it in pockets, but we have to see a sustained sort of environment that can be created in which to get this going. Is that the one thing that can help our business is to get to revive domestic tourism in a big way. And if you see most of the countries of Europe that were very, very badly hit, right from Italy to France, they all have rolled out outstanding incentives for domestic travel. I think that is something that is really the need of the hour, and states like Maharashtra will really, really benefit from it. In fact, once the lockdown opens, I see a lot of people, not just Sahyadris. I mean, people traveling from North Mumbai to South Mumbai just to get out of their homes. That will become a destination in itself. But having said that, I completely second Anjali and Venkatesan that the plethora of natural beauty that is there in Maharashtra, specifically in Maharashtra, outstanding roads, great infrastructure. I think we are really sitting on a gold mine over here, and I'm very, very optimistic about the future.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for those opening lines. I think these are great perspectives and very, very important as we move forward. Also, with regard to the session, I think they are very valid because today we are going to be entering the Western region. So that's a great introduction. And with that perspective, I would now like to introduce India City Walks. So India City Walks was conceived and conceptualized to showcase both the historic as well as the contemporary parts of the city and the parts of the country as a melange of cultures. Recipients of various awards, both nationally and internationally, we deliver best immersive city experiences and share stories of sustainability, social impact, cultural knowledge in India. Our mission is to take Indian tourism synergies on a platform where it attracts maximum interest through the exciting variety of culture and the nuances of diverse themes. We have been curating tours, experiences, walks, and specialty sessions for the wider audience across the globe. In fact, I must mention that this morning we did a session where we did a session for the kids, and we did our intellectual property called Storycation, and it was a wonderful session where kids had to talk about their about stories about their vacations. So that was a fantastic thing that was done just this morning. I now request my co-host as well, Mr. Shaman, the Director of Operations, Director of Communications from SATA, to introduce SATA.
Thank you, Nidhi. Just to do my part over here, I would first like to introduce the South Asian Travel Awards. South Asian Travel Awards has been recognizing the best of South Asia's hospitality and travel industry since 2016. This prestigious annual event honors stellar organizations and individuals in a wide array of categories. SATA, shortly known, aims to encourage and raise service standards within the regions of the tourism industry. Each year, the award ceremony in Gala Arena is attended by some of the industry's most renowned personalities, which makes the award a truly studded event. By partnering with India City Walks, we try to give a new meaning to what's more to explore. And by the end of the series, we want more people to be aware of the experiences in the region. So there is one reason why we initiated the digital travel with India City Walks. I hope we will be reaching our success, and with this partnership, we will have more of the episodes going on. Back to you, Nidhi.
Thank you so much, Shaman. Thank you for that. We will now move on. What we did in our last session was that the session had two segments. The first segment begins with a very brief orientation of India, followed by a presentation, this time on the Western region, covering some of its prominent states, cities, and their experiences. Our second segment covers the Q&A session with our distinguished panelists. As we keep mentioning, India is a diverse country and Indians take pride in unity and diversity. Let us begin our session with a glimpse on India's diversity. India is a land of multilingual, multicultural, and heterogeneous population. We do not cease to charm any traveler who sets their foot here. With 28 states, 8 union territories, 22 official languages, and 19,500 mother tongues spoken, we surely can overwhelm anyone. One of the prime attractions to many world leaders, celebrities, and all kinds of travelers, India is the home to spirituality. We have approximately 33 million gods and goddesses in the Hindu pantheon for approximately 1.3 billion population. They say, if you seek, you shall find, and that is what defines India. Of course, this pandemic has taught us more than ever that health is wealth. And amongst many things, India has also gifted the world with the science of yoga. This is something that many of us have incorporated as a part of our daily lifestyle. Our culture and tradition is best experienced in the deep-rooted classical music, diverse range of cinema, and of course, in the beauty of colorfully woven threads. With this brief introduction into India's thematic tourism attractions, let us proceed towards the land of valor, trade, and tradition. Yes, this is our western part of the country. And if I was to make a broad generalization about the people, then I must mention that they love their gram flour delicacies and ensure value for money. I had my inception years spent in the western part of the country, and it is going to be slightly nostalgic for me today. So without any further delay, let's begin with the list of states that we will cover in the Western Belt today. We have chosen the places according to defining grounds on tourism and hospitality, and hence we will be covering Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Goa in the next 20 minutes. Needless to mention, a diverse land like India's, it is impossible to cover it all, but we will try and give it our best shot today. The first one on our list is the beautiful state of Rajasthan. I now request my colleague, Dr. Shomi Roy, to take it forward.
Right. Straight from the tales of kings and queens, Rajasthan is the place to be if you love experiencing the grand life. The sand dunes, the fort and fortresses, the bards and folklores make it an interesting mix of romanticism and realism. Well connected by rail, road, and airways, Rajasthan has been a major tourist attraction for globetrotters for years now. The capital city of Jaipur, which is a part of the Golden Triangle, and that's something we covered in our last session, is something that was very well received. But as mentioned on the slide, Rajasthan is the largest state in the country as far as area is concerned. The history of the state is vast and complex. It is well-known fact that before independence, India had almost 500 plus principalities. They were the princely states, and some of the major principalities were from Rajasthan. From the earliest evidence of civilization in the sites of Indus Valley civilization to the traces of glorious ancient India, the state has fragments of every phase of history in its soil. With every passing phase or historic time, the background of its cultural history becomes even more complex. The grandeur of the state is unmatchable. Some cities have, even some cities have designated color codes for their own varieties. So for example, I'm sure many of our viewers know that Jaipur is called the pink city. Udaipur is called the white city. Jodhpur is called the blue city. Every color, again, has a different cultural context to it. And all of this that I'm mentioning to you right now is something that can be best experienced, not by the virtue of what I'm saying, but by only visiting the state and hoping that the pandemic, once it ends, it's something will attract us even more. And yes, one of the must mention about the state is its rich folk tradition. The essence of folklore, oral history, all of it is extremely deep-rooted in this state. Moving on to the next question that usually comes to your mind when you come to this place. What all can you experience in this state? As mentioned on the slide, you experience varied kinds of heritage walks, textile experience, bicycle tours, and one of my favorites, the cultural interactions through the specialized festival offerings. Every city in Rajasthan has a dedicated genre of heritage walk offerings. From the beautiful fort walks to the museums, bazaars, you can enjoy the heritage of the city through its alleyways. From City Palace to Mehrangarh Fort to Amer Fort, Umaid Bhavan Palace Museum, it's breathtakingly grand. You visit the place and you will get immersed into its nuances, be it architectural or mythological or historical. Since it is one of the most sought after tourist destinations in the country, the variety of experience is much, much more here. Being, again, the largest space on India's map, Rajasthan has a mix of the city life as well as the rural life, the wild and the civilized, the tiger reserves to the bird sanctuaries. A diverse range of flora and fauna can be witnessed across the state. However, I must mention that if not anything else, then the sand dunes is something that one must visit. It is one of the largest deserts in the world, if not the first, but the seventh. If the words so far did not get your attention and somehow you are not attracted to what I was saying, The following slides will surely get you attracted, where we give you a glimpse of Rajasthan's beauty through some of the images. If destination weddings are in fashion, then Rajasthan is the capital of that trend. I'm sure many in the audience have seen the pictures of Hollywood weddings in India, or be it some Amazon Prime show or something which is grandeur that comes on Netflix. You will see everybody flying into Rajasthan if they have to match up to the entire grandeur of Indian style of wedding. And if you were a participant in that kind of wedding, you need to get yourself a grand outfit, for which again, you can head to Rajasthan for the exquisite prints and fabrics. Architecture, artistry, and ample scope for that picture perfect frame. The places like Shekhawati, which is in the northern part of Rajasthan, are a must visit for all its grand havelis and everything that has to do with murals. Legends have it that the steeped in wealth and affluent merchants of Shekhawati got busy in outdoing one another in building one of the grand edifices for their homes, temples, stepwells, whichever way they could showcase their richly decoration, be it inside or outside. The murals have attracted globetrotters, architects, and everyone to Shekhawati to take a look of those beautiful glimpses of architectural marvels. Hot air balloons, desert safari, bicycle tour, camel rides, camping in desert are few of the unique offerings of the state. While we spoke about all the synonyms of grand and rich, there's one experience that actually supersedes all. That's the Maharaja Express. Being awarded the world's leading luxury train 7 times in a row, this is one thing that distinguishes Rajasthan from most of the Indian states as far as luxury experiences are concerned. When you're soaking in the spirit of Rajasthan through its cities and scales, how could you miss the delight of savoring the cuisine? Listed here are some of the must mentions and must try dishes. Of all, my favorite is of course lal mas. This is the meat curry which always melts my heart. And yes, when we are talking about food, we need to mention about the festivals. As Nidhi ma'am mentioned in the first few slides, we have millions of gods and goddesses, and hence the list of festival is also countless. On the slide are some of the most prominent festivals dedicated just to Rajasthan. Some of you can see the surrounding of the desert queen while the festivals are on. But festival or no festival, if you're planning to visit Rajasthan, do spend some time experiencing the famous Kalbelia performance. The performance is done by the same tribe. They dance and sing as a matter of their pride of their, they're the snake charmers as a community, and they showcase the changing socioeconomic conditions of their own and their own role in the rural Rajasthani society. So it's a beautiful performance, and it's a must one to experience for people who are traveling to Rajasthan. Now from Rajasthan, and like we mentioned, from all the grandeur, we are now moving into the neighboring state of Gujarat. From the forts and fortresses, kings and queens, it is now time to look into the dynamics of mill owners, factory owners, and the industrialists. With a vast history and anecdotes, Gujarat has a unique balance of culture and commerce. Some of the biggest global industrialists hail from this state. And of course, our Honorable Prime Minister also hails from Gujarat. The state is pretty much very well connected by various modes of transportation. The intercity movement can be also seamlessly done. Again, one of the largest states in the country, you need good amount of time in hand to explore it in totality. The historic roots of the state can be traced from the prehistoric times. One of the first civilizations in the world, the Indus Valley, has many of its excavated sites in the state. Gujarat also becomes one of the most prominent places in India's modern history, as this was the birthplace of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Needless to mention, Mahatma Gandhi and his journey can be best traced in Gujarat. The beauty of each Indian state is in its diversity, and Gujarat is no different. World's largest white desert, longest coastline, short temples, habitat to Asiatic lions, country's first marine national park, ancient Buddhist caves, Harappan citadels, and more than 4,000 years of old tradition of handicrafts and handlooms, and much more. This is all something that you can prominently experience at Kutch, Ahmedabad, Sasan, Gir, Junagadh, Patan, Somnath, Dwarka, and many, many more. I've taken the names in one go, in one breath, but of course you will take many, many more hours and multiple days to experience each of these places. Referring to the slide that you have on your screen, our experience in Gujarat varies from heritage walks, museum tours, crafted experiences to wildlife. Some of the best experiences are of the archaeological sites where you can see the excavations from a distance. Trust me when I say it, it freezes your imagination when you realize that a complete civilization, a planned city could be unearthed. So much that even a dockyard at Lothal can be seen. We can go on with the details, but in the interest of time, let's move to our next slide and see some of the listed unique experiences. Here, of course, are some of the, we have mentioned the rural sites, the spiritual circuits of Gujarat, and an insight to Mahatma Gandhi's life are just a few to be mentioned and a must ones to be experienced. The famous Narmada Parikrama, shared between the two states of Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, is an experience of 2,600 kilometer long pilgrimage experience along the river, which is once in a lifetime kind of an experience to do. The state also is the abode of many, many wellness centers in the country. Apart from this, if you're an adventure seeker and if you wish to get yourself hypnotized by the beauty of nature, then please, our recommendation is to take a bike ride, bike experience for the Run of Kutch. Some more of the details will be shared in the following slides, of course, but that's something that one cannot explain in words. From archaeological excavations, architectural details, the intricacies of the Tree of Life, the steep step wells, the Grand Akshardham Temple, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, you name it, and Gujarat has it all. In the introduction to Gujarat, we mentioned about that the state is a mix of culture and commerce. The first two images on the top give you a glimpse of the colorful textile manufacturing and production in Gujarat. The state contributes to almost 12% of the textile exports in the country. And not just textiles, Gujarat is extremely well known for its diamond trade too, especially Surat. Hope this sparkle has hit your eyes already. And of course, with the leftover money after you have spent a good amount in purchasing of diamonds, you can still fill in your shopping bags with a variety of fabrics and textile pieces from the cities of Ahmedabad and Surat. Shop till you drop, but not before you have savored some delicacies. Gujarati dishes, that's what you see on our slide, yes. Gujarati dishes have their own fan base. The state is a paradise for vegans and vegetarians. With a tinge of sweetness in most of their dishes, the Gujaratis make the best snacks. Listed on the slide are some of the most attractive offerings of the state. Of course, here are some more of the dishes for you. My favorite on the list is fafda and jalebi combination. Fafda is a deep fried, crispy, crunchy, tasty snack made out of besan, which is gram flour, laced with some carom seed and black pepper. It is a popular Gujarati vegan snack, which is best served with fried green chilies. Once your mouth is on fire with those chilies, please take a bite of that sweet jalebi to balance the taste buds. And like always, food brings us to the reason of celebration, that is the festival. Listed here are the three famous festivals, of which Navratri Dandiya is now globally famous. The kite flying experience is something that attracts many international travelers. And of course, not to forget, the Run of Kutch, or the White Desert. This is one of the largest salt deserts in the world, a must experience in our country. The best time to visit is during the festival, when you get to see the colors on the desert and the entire fanfare of the craftsmen and their skills. This is something which the land of industrialists and intricate design had to offer. Let's move to the state now, which puts it all up on the global map. We're moving to Maharashtra, and with that, I request Nidhi ma'am to take the screen, please.
Thank you. Going by the tagline, let us unfold the unlimited in Maharashtra now. Thriving on the banks of the Arabian Sea, Maharashtra's major attractions will be covered in the following slides. I will add my bias to the state, as I spent a part of my childhood here and began my career from the state. So let's begin the journey through my memories. Mumbai being the commercial capital of the country, the state is very well connected to the rest of the country and the world. Mumbai functions as the backbone of the country's financial system. With all the major bank headquarters, stock exchanges, etc., this is the best place if you'd like the smell of the currency. Moving on and talking about the historical significance of the state. The name Maharashtra first appeared in the 7th century inscription in the account of a Chinese traveler at that time. The state has been a witness to power of many dynasties. One of the most famous one being the Marathas. If there is one name that is synonymous to Maharashtra, it is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the warrior king whose legacy can be traced in every part of the state even today. The state of Maharashtra has every aspect of a touristic destination, from high arches of the colonial structures and the diverse spiritual destinations, the scenic beauties, and even the archaeological findings. The state brings a range of things to discover. Ms. Anjali and Mr. Venkateshan also mentioned a wide variety of things that Maharashtra comprises of. Referring to the slide, the heritage walks, museum tours, art experiences, adventure routes, and spiritual connections are spread all across the state in most of the cities like Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, Nashik, to name a few. Some famous options are walks in Mumbai. The South Mumbai walk is particularly famous. If you visit Pune, you cannot miss a food walk. And if you were in Aurangabad, the place where I've grown up, you have to deep dive and do a heritage walk at the Bibi Ka Maqbara and also the very famous Ajanta and Ellora caves. I did not know while growing up that one day I will be guiding like this, had it not been for the Ajanta and Ellora cave trips that I made in my childhood. On the slide that you can see also mentions about, it shows a little about the art galleries. Needless to say that art is a form of expression and the genre which attracts many. One could experience it across cities such as Pune or even Mumbai at the Kala Ghoda or even at the very famous Jahangir Art Gallery. The residents of Maharashtra are blessed with abundance of natural beauty, be it seaside or hill stations. Adventure activities are one of the aspects of tourism that attracts a lot in the states. The cities like Lonavala, Khandala, Mahabaleshwar or Pune, I must mention there's a fair amount of time that I have spent between Mumbai and Delhi. And I have to accept the fact that the residents of these two cities have always argued about the differentiating status these cities have. And we are yet to conclude which one is better. Not to forget the divine connection. Spirituality is the essence in many cities of Maharashtra. A strong association with spirituality runs through the state. Cities like Shirdi, Trimbakeshwar, or Tuljapur, and many others have attracted a lot of tourists all around the year to seek blessings in this part of the country. Shirdi is one of the most visited places as Shirdi Sai Baba is worshipped across the globe by many. Bringing to the food and festivity, one of the biggest cultural influences in Maharashtra, the state has made two dishes globally famous. One is the very humble vada pav and other being the pav bhaji. From the streets of Maharashtra to five-star hotels, Mumbai's bhel and pav bhaji have many drooling over them. A food experience in Maharashtra and especially in Mumbai will be incomplete if you haven't tried the Parsi bakeries, the Iranian cafes, and the flavorful seafood offerings. When we talk about Maharashtra, we also have to mention about the festivals. And one of the festivals, which is one of my personal favorite, is the Ganesh Chaturthi. The Hindu pantheon of gods and goddesses, they say that Ganesh, the elephant god, is one of the most loved gods amongst all. He is celebrated in Maharashtra with a grand festival called the Ganesh Chaturthi for a period of 10 days. It looks like a carnival and feels like the entire state comes to a standstill just for these celebrations. From household rituals to biggest community events, this is real flavor of festivity in the state. The other festivals are also worth experiencing, especially Janmashtami, where the human pyramid is formed. But in the interest of time, we will move to our last and final destination and our last state, which is Goa. Over to Shomi.
Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, no matter what you say, everybody is attracted to one name, that is Goa. Tagged along with Maharashtra, as sharing the same coastal line, we have reached the party destination. Of course, Goa is synonymous to the party capital of the country, but trust us when we say that it is much more than just a party destination. In this pandemic, partying is something that we all have missed. So let's collectively feel a little nostalgic and a little emotional about the pre-COVID times and the situations. In the following slides, maybe we can relive those moments. Connectivity is never a problem to Goa. You can reach by different modes of transportation. One of the smallest states in the country, Goa has all the state-of-the-art facilities. Honestly, Goa cannot be judged by its space or the area. It really, really matches up and ticks all boxes of the offering for any traveler. The state offers rich history, starting from the ancient times till the post-independent India. With strong colonial influences, Goa is the best place to experience the Portuguese influence in the country. It is interesting to note that though India got its independence in 1947, Goa saw independence only from the 450 years of Portuguese rule in 1961. Goa's cultural heritage was enriched by a slow but persistent process of absorption and assimilation of the features of imperial culture. With multicultural past, the Goans have rich traditional customs and rituals which are followed even today. The culture of the Goans is a blend of their people, festivals, music, and dance. The Goan customs and traditions are easily adaptable because of their lifestyle. The state of Goa comprises of two districts, roughly, South Goa and the North Goa, with the latter being more developed. Rocky outcroppings divide North Goa's most popular beaches like the Anjuna, Vagatar, and Kalangut. Goa's colonial past unfolds in Old Goa, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which used to be the bustling city for traders, merchants, and missionaries in the 19th century, now has churches and cathedrals. The unique spice experiences, cashew plantation tours, and visiting off-beaten beaches is something you must visit, must do when you're in Goa. To name a few hidden treasures, you need to visit the Morjim and Arambol beaches and Butterfly Beach if you wish to stay away from the crowd. Here are some of the captured frames from the colonial architecture. The beauty of the structures, the blazing sun, slipping sand, and shimmery sea. No matter what adjectives you choose, you cannot define Goa in words. When touring on the sea coast, how can you not try the seafood? From Goan fish curry to the fish fries to Portuguese cuisine, and of course, some of the very famous desserts. This slide has and the next, of course, mentions some of the noteworthy dishes, be it vegetarian or non-vegetarian. This is a paradise for all food lovers. While experiencing Goan cuisine, it is also important to mention that Goa has some of the oldest bakeries, a slow experience to see the making of pao. Pao in Portuguese means bread. The Goan bread is one of the delicacies that everybody craves for. The reason being that this is an integral part of the Goan eating habit, be it for breakfast, for evening tea, or any of the occasion for that matter. When the Portuguese invaded the coast of Goa, they brought with them the various types of dishes, from sweet to savory delicacies. They also brought in with them the art of making the pao, or the bread. Goa has more varieties of bread to celebrate than almost any part of the country, so do not miss it. Coming to our final section on this vibrant state, we cannot define the festivities in words. The carnivals, the film festivals, Christmas, the state remains in a celebratory mood all 12 months. Listed on the slide are just a few variants of the same. And with that, I think we have tried to encapsulate almost everything that the Western Zone could have offered. I am now going to share the screen with Nidhi ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shumi, and thank you all for being with us till now. From monuments, attractions, food, and festivals of the Western region. We've enjoyed it thoroughly to put this snapshot together for all of you, and I hope you've also enjoyed it as much. We will now move on to our second segment, a question and answer session with our esteemed panelists. I request my co-host, Shamin, to begin with the first round of questions.
Thank you, Nidhi. Our first question is to Ms. Anjali. You have experienced the tourism industry for more than a decade now. What do you think sets this industry apart from the others?
What sets the industry apart? So I'd like to start with my own experience. I'm not from hospitality or from travel and trade by education. I'm a pharmacist, and I wandered into this field in 2005, where I worked in hospitality for about 7 years, and then I've been in tourism for the last 15 years. And I think that in one sentence, I can use to explain that most of the people who are part of hospitality or travel and trade are here by passion more than, their consideration of it as profession. And there are people from various fields, there are various walks of life, and we all sort of came in because we thought of this industry as the perfect industry for experiences, because we would see new places, we would meet new people. And that's the passion that everybody brings into this industry. And what that passion brings to this industry is a little bit of craziness in a good way, a lot of resilience. I had so far only heard this term being used in the context of Mumbai. Mumbai would go through some very crazy experiences and would bounce back. And I think in the last 4 months, all of us have heard this term being used for this industry because we were the first to get affected. I think we started to feel the impact of the COVID in Jan itself. We are still struggling to come up. And yet you have, 6 crazy people on this panel, all looking at the future with optimism. None of us are here talking about the gloom and the doom and ruining the fact of, struggling to stay alive. Yet what are we doing? We have hoteliers like Anupam who are setting out some of the best health and safety norms to make sure that the hotels are safe for people to travel to. They're thinking of, I'm looking at presentations with 72 touch points in one room. Did we never had to bring science into this game, but we are even bringing science into this game, but still retaining the human element of the thing. So it requires passion. It requires a little bit of craziness. It requires, in this current scenario, a lot of resilience. But what that has created, this industry, is that the industry offers stories. It offers brilliant experiences for people who want to partake of its services. To some extent, this industry is a custodian of culture, traditions. We heard Shomi talk about festivals, food, archaeology. I know of geologists, archaeologists, naturalists, birding experts who are all part of this industry, and they bring their own personality and they bring that element of travel into the experience. Every city in India or every country that I visited, the first thing I've done is go for a walk. I have done guided walks, and most of those people were not originally from the industry. They just decided to take up this thing. In fact, in many countries, these walks are offered as free experiences. At the end of the walk, if you depending on how much you thought that the walk was worth, you end up paying your guide that much. And more often than not, I can guarantee you, most people end up paying much more than they would have had the walk been a ticketed experience. So that is what this industry, I could go on and on. But the bottom line is, this is an industry full of passionate people who bring some absolutely invaluable experiences for anybody who wants to partake of it. And currently, we're also bringing a little bit of science into this to make sure that it is a safe experience for anybody who wants to come and stay at a hotel or visit a destination.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sanjay. You are very right about being passion. As for craziness, I think we have reached the pinnacle right now. Next question is to Mr. Venkatesh. So you are part of the Ministry of Tourism. You have seen how policies and governance works when crisis hits. I wish to ask you something different from what everyone is asking the government. What, in your opinion, should the tourism business entrepreneurs who work with ground staff do to sustain the forthcoming months? Mr. Venkatesh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes. Thank you so much, Shamin, for that. Before I start, when I've heard Somi and Nidhi talk about the product of the Western region. Beyond those product, what makes this region unique is the people. The people are so warm and welcoming. So we should acknowledge that. It's a part of our experience. So with that, there is an old saying where it says that when the road is closed, it is the right time to teach your horse some new tricks. So when this is the time when we will have to look up. And for me as a administrator or as a kind of a planner, the main thing would be kind of adaptability and innovation. This is something which can help the industry thriving. So this is the time when the operators and the suppliers need to kind of look into the adaptability to the new normal. And when it comes to the technology has been a kind of silver lining which is keeping the industry still afloat. We are being able to touch with our what you call principal clients and operators, etc., virtually. And also, this is the time for them to also the question the existing business models and see how the new business models can come into accommodate and handle crisis like this in future. So, as we say that this crisis is an opportunity to innovate and improve, I should also acknowledge where the UNWTO, in fact, the Secretary General, I would like to quote, he said that tourism is a sector that has been hit the hardest by the COVID. Our response needs to be strong and united. We also need to embrace innovation. I call on all entrepreneurs and innovators with ideas that are developed and ready to be put out into action to share them with us. In particular, we want to hear ideas that will help communities recover from the crisis economically and socially, as well as the ideas that can contribute to the public health response. So that's where at the highest level also everybody is talking about innovation to sustain and kind of come over. And a lot of people are talking about no supply overrunning the demand and discounting, etc. But I believe this is the time not to discount. Massive discount will only lower the size of the overall pie, and it will deepen everyone's pain. So we should like to give a value for money and product. So that is something which you will have to work on. And again, as I said, depression is good. If you look at the world's best companies like GE, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, were all built during depression. So we should kind of look at how we can innovate and adapt. And if you see, it is an opportunity for tour operators to diversify and get into travel media business. There's so much of consumption and also the VR, etc., because they are having a lot of experiences into the product, so they can come into this and maybe they can break down the organization into micro enterprises and diversify into new areas related to tourism, which will keep the demand coming in. Content is always in demand, and everybody is looking for content. So there is a something. And also the suppliers can also look at attracting the new demand pools of customers. For example, hotels can offer self isolation in good quality with audio visuals, yoga, health, etc. While this is happening, they can also develop a lot of health and wellness and quarantine product which will have a universal appeal. So it is looking of diversifying and still keeping ourselves uh, grounded. And another area is to get acquainted with SOPs now issued to become a part of the product planning and itinerary planning, etc. So the education is another important thing. So to sustain, we need to come back. So we need to kind of be updated. A lot of things have changed. So every region has every state has its own SOP. There are national SOPs. So it is important that you kind of be touched. And also if you look at the technology, it is a time for you also to harness the technology. Everyone is talking about minimizing their touch points. So the operators need to upgrade and equip themselves so that the safety norm is tangibilized. The visitor, for example, should be able to check the person he is talking in the front desk is in a green or a red zone, or he should be able to check the bus is getting into his a green or a red bus. So it needs something also on the technology side. So adaptability, innovation, and being focused on the safety, etc., is something which will help them to come out of this and be in business. And this is not the time to lay off. Maybe I know it is difficult, but at least with whatever best the talent, you can't invite once the industry is going to come back. You're not going to get these people. You let them go. So you kind of have to keep everybody together and see how we can come out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh. We do have to be together at this time of need. Our next question is to Mr. Dasgupta. Realistically speaking, Mumbai has gone through a lot in terms of cyclone, COVID-19, but one thing the city is famous for is its spirit. Do you think Mumbai will bounce back in business soon as far as hotel occupancies are concerned? You're on mute. Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, so you're absolutely right. The people in the city of Mumbai have gone through a lot in the last few months, last few years. In fact, it's known for to be a city of people with a lot of resilience, a stoic acceptance of circumstances, and we've witnessed so many things here. Terrorist bombings to floods, and every time the people have picked themselves up and brushed themselves off and carried on, and that spirit encapsulates the spirit of the nation, and in so many ways defines the city of Mumbai. But having said that, this sort of a pandemic has not been witnessed by generations, right? People don't know how to deal with it, both from a business perspective, financial perspective, social perspective, mental perspective. We've seen a lot of people suffering because of this. From a business perspective, our industry has lost will lose about $10 billion by all reasonable estimates. There would be a shortfall of about 36% of 36 to 40% of our revenues would be lost during this time. Close to 27 to 28% of contraction of RevPAR is going to happen. So all that is happening right now. We know that, but as our panelists have also mentioned, we also have this fantastic gift of being able to bounce back and to innovate, and this is the time to do so. In the words of William Ernest Henley from Invictus, if I may quote, "My head is bloody but unbowed." It's if you've seen the movie, it's absolutely, it's something that that really resonates right now. So I'm confident we'll bounce back. Of course, it'll take a while. We'll come back in a new avatar. Many of the things we're doing now, we're not used to doing that. With the kind of some of the things that we're doing now sort of promotes a little bit of a distance from guests mentally and physically, and that is a little difficult to accept because we want to show our smiles not behind masks. That smile needs to reach our eyes and stuff like that. But having said that, this is the new normal. We have to live with it. We have to innovate. Unless we innovate, we're not going to survive. And it's not just us, it's all of us in the industry. I see some sort of uptick towards the latter part of the year with domestic tourism opening up and business travel, at least within India, picking up. But in terms of getting back to pre-COVID times, I don't think that can happen before the first quarter of 2022 is the best guess. So the whole of next year, I feel we will sort of this year, the rest of this year and the next year, it'll take us to get back to those kind of levels. But having said that, I'm very, very confident that with the demographic dividend of India and lots of steps that the government is taking, for Atmanirbhar Bharat, etc. All of those things will assist us and help us in getting back on our feet faster than we expect right now.
Yes, thank you for that, because I think passion is something that we spoke about, and resilience is also something that we spoke about, which completely integrates with your answer right now. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Dasgupta.
Thank you.
I move on to Anjali again, and Anjali, that Tamarind Global has had a good share of business in terms of corporate services and wedding events as well. With this pandemic, how do you think the dynamics of any organization working in this arena would change? Do you think there's going to be change in this arena? Because this is a very typical kind of business.
So, Nidhi, as you're aware, our original DNA was travel, and then from there we went into other verticals like weddings, corporate services, events, MICE, etc. So we think that MICE will take MICE is sort of in coma, and it will probably take a long time to revive. But like Venkatesan has mentioned, like Anupam has mentioned, we need to think differently. We need to innovate. We need to start revival, even if it is, approaching this problem through another means. So some of the things that we are looking to do is, amongst the various surveys that we've done or people that we've spoken to, people do want to travel. So initially, while what revived on the corporate travel front was factory-based visits or sales-linked visits, for the other people to resume their travel, what is it that they're concerned about? They're concerned about safety. They're concerned about, how safe the airlines or the road transport or the hotel room is going to be. They're perhaps also concerned about interstate travel and the kind of, probably having to do a COVID test or meeting certain norms or having to stay for a certain amount of time. They perhaps are also concerned about the flexibility. If they book and they need to cancel because everything is evolving on a daily basis. So these are three things that we realized that they were worried about. And we need to become a one-stop shop where we are able to assure them on the health and safety front, whether it's whatever is in our control. So if our transport is under our control, our hotel partners, we work with hotel partners that have some fabulous programs. They've tied up with top of the line global health and safety sanitization companies, and they've put together a very robust SOP in place at all of the hotels. If we can assure them on that aspect, we hope that sector will revive, with enough confidence building in. But in the meantime, can we offer them work from hotel options? Because, people at home are losing patience with, parents shushing the kids. I have a dog at home, and I'm mortally worried that I'm on a forum like this. If he gets irritated and starts to bark, what happens? So, but it was okay if it was only a couple of months. Now it's getting out of hand. So can we bring them into a work from hotel option? Can we perhaps have families coming in over the weekend, or perhaps a weekday and entire week and the weekend, where the parents can work, the kids can use some of the facilities of the resort, and over the weekend they can enjoy as a family. So these would be the baby steps to revive corporate travel, to my mind. As far as weddings go, there's a lot of pent-up demand. It's just waiting to sort of confirm or put down dates and places once the norm on the 50, the statutory norm on the 50 gets lifted or relaxed a bit. But in the meantime, what do we do? So we have to make the best of what we have. So we've been working very closely with hotels to offer virtual recce's. This is something we used to spend a lot of time doing in the past. We used to fly. So Tamarind does a lot of weddings within the country, but also outside the country. So there were weddings in which we would have flown to 3 different countries and looked at 6 or 7 hotels in a day to finally zero in on that destination and that hotel. We can do that sitting right here. We have some beautiful virtual tours that hotels are putting together. We are doing those recce's. We are shortlisting the hotels. We are shortlisting the destinations for weddings that don't need to happen in the immediate future till that is relaxed. But if people are okay to go with 50 guests to begin with, there are great experiences that you can offer. You create the actual wedding with the 50 guests. You make sure that the rest of the people that you're not able to invite to the wedding, either because they exceed the number or because they belong to vulnerable groups or they are from outside the city, are you find a way of catering directly to their houses, so they're able to enjoy food and beverages and participate through a session like this in the wedding, and you create an experience by itself. It's time to think differently. It's time to think out of the box. It's time to, gone are the times when you say that this is the scale at which I'm going to work. If it means that you have to work at 1/10 of the scale to revive and to get started again, so be it. And so we are thinking on our feet. We are learning every single day, and we are passing on that knowledge and information to these two verticals in the company.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure you've given a few new ideas and even a few business ideas to a lot of people who are hearing us today. So thank you so much for that. Now, I now move on to Mr. Venkat. Sir, you represent a region which is West, and you know it in its complete entirety. In your experience, do you feel that the lesser known places of the West will see more attractions when things roll back to normal? Because we've been hearing that people will look for places which are still not very popular. So would like to understand your take on it.
Well, it is true. This is a huge, vast area, and there's a lot of potential. When the lockdown happened, and we were looking at, what do we do sitting at home, and there is absolutely not much of operational side. So we decided to put together and research on what are all the unique products of this. So I was amazed to see we came out. In fact, we first started with Mumbai and neighborhoods, and if you look at, I chose 6 suburbs, and I could kind of get so many places which I didn't know existed in Mumbai. So it started with that, so that we thought let people move out of their homes immediately when they come. So that was the first step, Mumbai and around, which was first easy to go. Then we thought, why not look at, when I looked up the wildlife sanctuaries around the western and central region, I came up with another huge thing, which is all coming into a digital format soon. So there is so much. I initially used to count only 5 or 6, and we researched. We had small and big, a huge number of wildlife and places of wilderness which is available there. Then, if you look at the monsoon destinations and the whole region, especially the Maharashtra and the Konkan coast till Goa, is amazing. So it is a area which is kind of a lot of things to explore. Then I was surprised when I saw this area is also endowed with so much of Buddhist heritage.
Yes.
And beyond Ajanta, we not looked up into it, but there are right from Gujarat, even in the Maharashtra, there is so much of Buddhist heritage which is available, which is not known to the outer world. So there is another big product. And you spoke about pilgrimage, and the whole region is kind of what do you call, filled with destinations. In fact, Mumbai, the Maharashtra is a land of saints. It has so many saints across, and we just had this Pandharpur Wari, which happened. So there is an amazing offering for the on the pilgrimage side. So and we finally worked out. We thought, let us give some 52 options for 52 weeks in a year for every states. And this was something which was unique for us when we came out. And 30 years being all the time in the tourism, etc. I came into it came to my knowledge that every place has its so unique, right from camping in Shayadris, where we are coming out with the brochure, to the destinations, 52 destinations in all these states. It is amazing. So I'm just looking forward that this like we are going to be content rich soon, and it has everything, as I said, right from the white desert to the rainforest, to the amazing biodiversity hotspot, the great beaches, and the count goes on. So I think I'm quite lucky to be in a place which is kind of filled with so much of offerings, and primarily now it's not going to be sightseeing; it is going to be things to do and experience. So the experiential holidays will be something which is going to be unique to this destination, and every place has something amazing to offer. Especially,
Yes.
we are looking at also targeting all segments, just not the all ages. In fact, when I said from millennials to the family travel, and also for the regular travelers. So I'm quite confident that we will be uh, kind of filled with information and offerings the times to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I completely concur and agree to the fact that every nook and cranny of our city, villages, our country has so much to offer. And if they can be developed into experiences, that is going to be really, the true sense of incredible India that can be showcased across the world, not only across the world, but also to our domestic travelers. Now, moving on to my last question to Mr. Das Gupta. Of course, Mr. Das Gupta, a brand like yours, what kind of measures are you taking or doing the best to bring in the trust factor back in the guests? Constructive steps to not just hygiene and safety, but also in terms of engagement. We're assuming that the first lot of travelers will be the business travelers. They will try to stay indoors within the hotels after work. So what kind of engagements or what kind of themes are you planning to work for them? Sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So, not just my company, but our industry colleagues have, responded outstandingly to, to what has unfolded over the last few months. And like I said, it's not just from the point of view of standards being set through various, brainstorming sessions, looking at WHO standards, looking at the Ministry of Health Affairs notifications, Maharashtra government notifications, but also a lot of brainstorming within and looking within to understand what is it that we can adapt from other industries to make to give that sort of confidence to our guests, like Anjali was speaking about, so that they don't feel a second thought about coming in, and get worried about what they're touching and what they're sleeping on, etc., etc. So I'm very happy to tell you that we adapted this very early, and right from day one, we started thermal scanning and safe distancing and all of that, all the physical manifestations of this new world that you've seen. That came about right at the first step. The second step was to adapt them and to get in capex, because there's a fair amount of capex that we had to get in, spend a lot of money in these trying times, for things, for example, fogging every car that comes in, fogging every piece of luggage, of course, having separators between you and the guest, and all kinds of things. In the room, we have things which, for example, we have swab tests that used to be only with the microbiologists. We have that in the hotel now. We have hygiene managers. We've even tied up with the venerable Bureau Veritas to who can validate our standards and who can audit us at will, so that we know that we are following international norms and we have complied to them. So these are of course factors that build in trust, and we spoke to our stakeholders. We our colleagues in sales and marketing or in the frontline operations, they've been speaking to our guests and our travel partners to understand timelines that we need to follow in order to get back to business, etc., etc. But having said that, a lot of this can really be lip service unless you actually see this being manifest on the ground. And I think this kind of trust comes, especially it becomes more important when all this is being spoken to you by the CEO of the company himself. Like, from day one, Mr. Vikram Oberoi, who's our CEO, has been communicating with our guests and putting out all our standards in our SOPs right up there for everyone to see on our website. So these are things that build trust over a period of time. And, we've been in the business for 80 years now, and this is the only thing that we know how to do, which is service from the heart. I mean, we of course have to adapt to other things. We understand that, and that's what's going to happen. But what is not going to go is, our service from the heart. That's not going to go away. Nobody can take that away. No amount of masks or gloves or screens can take away service from the heart. I think, because what is genuine can be felt by the heart. So that's one. The other aspect that you spoke about is people coming in. Yes, we expect the first lot of guests would be business travelers. We also expect a fair amount of staycations, as they say, for people, because they're sick and tired of being at home and cooking their own food and stuff like that. So we do expect that sort of thing to come in a bit in a little while, and people will want to stay indoors as much as possible and not venture out. We do see that happening, and we are trying to offer solutions to that effect, where they don't have to go out. All the entertainment inside, everything that you might want could be inside. I mean, this epidemic, this pandemic I feel has made us better managers, better leaders of people. And I think we'll all come out as better people from this.
I so agree with you, and absolutely, we are all going to come out as better leaders, as better people out of this pandemic. No session is complete without the parting notes from our panelists. So if I may start with Ms. Anjali, these would be your parting notes, please.
Just that we just need to resume travel. I think I'll come back to the first point that I started off with. This is a silver lining. It's a great reset point. If I were to look at everybody here from the hospitality industry, from a regulatory body, if I were to look at guests, I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to think differently and reset, our capabilities, our offerings, and our innovation. For the guests, I think it's a great opportunity to do what I call the kind of travel that I like to do, which is slow travel. So this is not the time to tick things off your bucket list, but this is the time to go do that one thing that you always kept off for later. To not necessarily go to the most popular destinations, because let's say for every Jodhpur or Jaipur, there is a Khimsar, and for every beach in Goa, while you did mention, you mentioned some of the not so crowded beaches, there's also beautiful Ratnagiri. This is a great opportunity to go to those smaller places and take your business to people who are not necessarily big brands, and to engage with the local community, and not necessarily tick off a lot of boxes and jump from place to place, but to engage meaningfully in an activity with a destination, with its community. I think there will be no better time than to do that. You will also be doing a great favor to the environment as a whole. And studies over have always said that people who stay longer in a destination contribute positively to a destination, not just financially, but also culturally. So this is a great time from the traveler's perspective. Anupam already gave the perspective on how hospitality is thinking differently and thinking out of the box. What we also need is, I would request, authorities like the travel and tourism departments and the MHA to make travel a little simpler. This is also an industry at the end of the day. So while we have encouraged other industries to open up and resume back to normal, I know many other industries have gone back to their pre-COVID numbers, or are even seeing a growth on that. We're just saying simplify travel, don't make it that difficult that a person thinks it's more cumbersome to travel than it's fun. So while we don't need any help from anybody, we just need to look at travel far more simply. I know that the stakeholders in travel will ensure that all the health and safety norms are followed, much more than that guided by statutory bodies, because our reputation is at stake. So make it easy for us, and let's all start seeing a revival here.
Thank you so much for that. Let's make it easy. Let's see the revival. Over to Venkat sir, your parting comments, please.
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. In fact, I'm very, very, very optimistic. I'll tell you with most assertion that tourism is never going to die. Man is a social animal, and for him, food, shelter, and mobility are these basic needs. And the travel and tourism is all about fulfilling these basic needs. So let me also confess, before this COVID-19 came in, I never heard of what is this Spanish flu pandemic was. Which means if I was asking a researcher friend of mine, and who informed me that since 1930 there has been no writing about Spanish flu. So which means that the human memory is short. Once the central incomes of the families are restored and the demand is going to come back, we will surely reach there. So that is one thing we are all looking at, and the key is to keep the patience now. And as we all know, nature is quite cyclical, and what goes down comes up stronger, and it also comes up better. So the opportunities will open to all those who are flexible. Flexibility is very important, and who can innovate. And let us, the real failure is to give up, or to let the failure defeat us. So I think let us be flexible and innovative and strong, and I think this will pass. And thank you so much.
Yes, this too shall pass, certainly. Going on to our final comments from Mr. Dasgupta, please.
I echo the optimism of my other panelists on the show, and thank you for having me in this. It's been a great learning for me the last 1 hour or so. I think besides everything that we spoke about, a lot more emphasis will be on health and wellness, mental health, physical health and wellness, because for a lot of people, this will be it'll be a reset of their lives, so to speak. And I think we had to, unfortunately it had to be a pandemic to bring us to our knees.
Yes.
But there's been a reset in nature there, and Mr. Venkatesan will, I'm sure, agree with me, are not just because it's monsoon, but also because of the a lot of wilderness areas in Maharashtra would be bouncing back beautifully. You see cleaner air, etc., etc. But having said that, when we go back to what we were, I think people will be much more careful. And I hope, even though their memory is short, I hope they'll realize that they can't keep, ravaging nature that the way they do, and start taking a lot more care of themselves, their health, their family. I think all those old-fashioned values, as they say, will be back. And I'm very, very optimistic about that. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think I have to once again thank all our panelists, but I also have to thank everyone who's watching us today and who's going to be watching us and keeps motivating us to bring these sessions and these seminars to all of you. We are going to be also coming up with the three more sessions of the Digital Traveler, covering the East, South, and Central part of India. Please do look out for the information on the Facebook page of SATA as well as India City Walks. Do stay connected, do stay safe. On behalf of SATA and India City Walks, this is Nidhi and Shamin signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.